In a quiet city, the evangelical faith church stood like a beacon of hope. Every Sunday, it opens its doors to welcome the faithful. Songs of praise would rise like incense, drawing hearts towards heaven. Among them was Felicia, a humble, respectful young woman known for her devotion to God. She was always there early, before the service began, not to dress to impress, but to clean the altar and sweep the compound. They called her God's daughter, not because she was perfect, but because her heart was pure. When others left the church, Felicia would often kneel quietly in a corner, whispering a prayer that only God and heaven could hear. Lord, she would say, with her eyes closed and hands clasped, I've served you with my heart. Please send me a man who fears you too. One who will see me, love me, and never betray me. After that, she will get back to her house, where she makes meal for herself and her younger sister. During the week, Felicia works in a place that smelled of lemongrass and lavender. It was called Serene Glow Spa, and it sat quietly on a calm street, with soft music always playing in the background. There were no loud voices, no chaos, just the hum of peace and the whisper of scented oils. Her co-receptionist and work buddy was Linda, tall, beautiful, always on trend. Her honey brown wig flowed down her back, and her nails were never without gloss. They shared lunch and sometimes laugh over client stories. One quiet evening, as Felicia left work and walked the familiar road home, her spirit was calm and her heart full of thoughts. By the roadside, she saw a white car with a man standing beside it, tall, unsure, and clearly not from around. His voice carried the scent of America. As she was about to walk past him, "Please," he said gently, making her to come to a stop. "Do you know anyone who can help me? My car just broke down, and I'm not from around here. I've just got back a few days ago." Felicia nodded, kind as always. "There is a mechanic down the road, but you know what I'm going to do? Once I get there as I'm walking down, I'll have to send someone to you. I'll let them know that you're standing right here." She then turns to leave. "Wait," John said, smiling. "My name is John. Can I have your number?" For a moment, Felicia paused, but something told her it was okay. So she gave him the number and walked away. Later that evening, as the moon stretched across the sky and Felicia sat quietly in her room, her phone began to buzz. She looked at the screen. An unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something nudged her heart. "Hello," she answered softly. A voice came through, warm, familiar. "Hi, it's John. From earlier today. The car." Felicia smiled without meaning to. "I just wanted to say thank you," he said. "You really helped me. I didn't know who else to ask. And you didn't even hesitate." Felicia's voice stayed gentle. "It was nothing. I'm glad he came quickly." "No," John said. "It wasn't nothing. It meant a lot." There was a pause, not the awkward kind, but the kind where two people quietly recognize something new. "Okay then," he said. "I just wanted to say hi. And thank you. That's all." "All right. Good night," she replied. "Good night." And just like that, the call ended. But something lingered in the air. A kindness, a beginning, a voice that might return. Days passed like slow rain on a quiet roof. Felicia had returned to her reading, work, home, prayer, and sleep. But that night, long after the world had gone to rest, her phone rang again. The same voice, calm, familiar. "Hi Felicia, I hope I'm not calling too late." She smiled into the silence. "No, it's okay." There was a pause, a gentle one. "I just haven't stopped thinking about you since that day," John said, his words careful, as though they might fall if dropped too fast. "You were kind to a stranger, and somehow I felt seen." Felicia didn't speak immediately. Her heart had many things before, but this felt different. "I'd really like to get to know you," John continued. "Not just because of what you did, but because of who you are. Would that be okay?" Felicia lowered her gaze, though no one was watching, and in her chest, a small flame lit. Not wild, not loud, but steady. "Okay," she whispered. That night long, after the call ended, Felicia sat still, not because she was afraid, but because something secret had begun. Not a fairy tale, but a seed. And seeds, when watered gently, tend to grow into stories worth telling. On a quiet afternoon of the next day, Felicia called her sister Loveth to sit with her in their small living room. The light was soft and the air smelled of stew from the kitchen. "Loveth," she began, a shy smile tugging at her lips. "There's someone I want to tell you about." Loveth's eyes lit up. I'm listening." "His name is John. I met him the day his car broke down near the spa. I helped him call a mechanic. And since then, he's been calling just to check on me or to talk. But this time around, he said he wants to get to know me." Loveth grinned, and then she asked her, "Is he kind? Do you like him?" Felicia looked away, then nodded slightly. "I think he's kind. I like him, but I don't know what to do." Loveth leaned in with excitement. "Invite him for lunch. Let him come here. Let's see him. There's nothing wrong with a decent girl. Inviting a decent man for a decent meal. What if he's your answered prayer from God?" Felicia laughed. She didn't say yes, but the way her heart warmed, she didn't say no either. The table was small but full. Rice, stew, fried plantains, cold juice. He sat with the sisters, smiling gently, answering questions with a calm, respectful voice. Loveth liked him immediately. Felicia, though she tried to hide it, was drawn in deeply, not just by his calm way of speaking, but how he listened, how he carried himself. He talked about his plans, his job in America. There was no show-off. He wasn't boastful, just sincere. And as they ate and laughed, Felicia realized she didn't just like him, she was beginning to fall. Felicia and John sat across from each other in a quiet bar. their drinks untouched as laughter slowly gave way to something deeper. They had talked about life, family, dreams, little fears, and Felicia felt herself leaning into the beast between them. Then John looked at her, serious but gentle. "Felicia," he said, "I don't want just a relationship. I'm not here to play. I want you to be my girlfriend. But more than that, I'm looking for someone to settle down with." Felicia blinked, caught off guard. "Say yes," he added, with a quiet smile. And in that moment, with the music low and the world quiet, she did. Because some love stories don't need noise. They just need honesty. The afternoon was quiet at the spa, the scent of lavender drifting through the air. Felicia stood near the corner, phone pressed to her ear, a soft smile playing on her lips. Her voice was low, sweet, the kind reserved for someone who makes your heart settle. On the other end of the call was John. He had traveled back to America, but his voice still wrapped around like a warmth. Linda, in her white spa uniform and honey brown wig, passed by, then paused, watching her friend. Felicia laughed quietly into the phone, eyes glowing. When the call ended, Linda walked over, still smiling. "Who was that?" she asked, a teasing sparkle in her eyes. Felicia looked shy for a second, then answered, "My boyfriend. We just started dating. He lives in America, and he loves me." Linda's smile widened. You have entered love, oh," she said. And Felicia just smiled again, the kind of smile that only love can give. From across the ocean, John sat on his couch, wrapped in a warm sweater and winter hat. The glow from his phone reflected on his face, but his eyes were fixed on one thing, Felicia's smile on the screen. She was lying in bed, bonnet on, face lit by soft lamplight. Her voice, calm and sweet, made the room around him feel a little less cold. They talked like they always did, about her day at the spa, about his meetings in the States, about little things that made them laugh. Then John paused, leaned a bit closer to the screen. "Babe," he said softly, "they've started painting the house in Nigeria. Can you go check the site for me tomorrow? Just see if they are doing it well. Take some pictures and send them, please." She nodded gently. "Okay, I will." He smiled, not just because she agreed, but because in that moment, he felt like it was already part of the home he was building. And when the call ended, her screen dimmed. Felicia held the warmth of his voice like a promise. Felicia and Linda stood at the site. Earlier that day at the spa, Felicia had quietly asked Linda, "Please, can you escort me to my boyfriend's site after work? They've started painting, and he asked me to check." Linda smiled. "Of course." So they got there. The painters were already at work, brushes moving steadily across the fresh walls. Felicia reached into her bag, but her phone was off. My battery is dead." "Can I use yours?" she said. Linda handed it to her. Felicia called John and he answered. "Hi babe, I'm here," she said, turning the phone to show him the building. "They've started painting and it's coming out nice." She took pictures and sent them from Linda's phone. The call ended. Nothing felt strange, but that simple borrowed moment will be the beginning of something unexpected. Days had passed. Felicia sat quietly, staring at her phone. She had called John twice already. No answer. She tried again, waited. Nothing. The screen stayed quiet. The silence stretched. Her eyes dimmed a little. Her chest tightened. "Maybe he's busy," she whispered to herself. But something didn't feel right. Deep down, something felt off. The warmth in her chest was slowly turning to worry.
Felicia sat quietly at the spa. Her eyes looked far away. Linda noticed. She walked over and nudged her gently. "Babe, are you okay?" Felicia hesitated, then leaned in with a sigh. "It's John. He hasn't called me in days. I've tried, but he's not picking. I don't even know what I did wrong." Linda's smile faded. She placed a hand on Felicia's shoulder. "Don't think too much. Maybe he's just busy or something came up." Felicia nodded, but her heart still felt unsettled. And as Linda held her hand in comfort,
1,000 silent questions swirled in the air. Questions that only time would answer. Another night came. Felicia sat alone staring at her screen again. She had sent John a message. Just a simple "Hi babe, I hope you're okay. I miss you." For hours there was nothing. Then finally a reply. "I'm busy at the moment." No smile, no warmth, just 5 dry words. Felicia stared at it for a long time, like maybe if she blinked enough, the message would change. But it didn't. And in that moment, her heart finally admitted what her mind had been afraid to say. Something had changed, and it wasn't her imagination. It was a quiet evening. Felicia had returned from work, and she sat with Loveth, eyes red from a night of silence. Loveth asked her gently, "When did he start acting strange?" Felicia didn't even pause. "After I went to check the house, the day I used Linda's phone to call him." Loveth sat upright. "Wait, you used Linda's phone?" Felicia nodded slowly. Loveth's voice dropped. Felicia, think well. Are you sure Linda didn't say something to him? Are you sure she's not the reason he's acting this way? You need to ask her. Something doesn't sit right with me." Felicia didn't even argue. Her heart had already begun asking the same question. The next day at the spa, Felicia came in early, waiting, watching, but Linda didn't show up. Not by 9 a.m., not by 12, not at all. And just like that, silence came again, this time from the one person who might know the truth. Months had passed, still no word from John, still no word from Linda. Felicia had tried everything, messages, calls, prayers whispered into the quiet. Linda wouldn't pick her calls. John had vanished into thin air, and all Felicia had left was silence. So one Sunday morning, she returned to the place where it all began, the church. She knelt at the altar, her bonnet barely holding back the tears, her hands trembling as she wept. "God, I don't understand," she whispered, through tears. "I thought this was my answered prayer. I thought it was finally my turn to smile." Her voice cracked. "First you gave me John, and now it's like he never existed. I've not heard from him. Linda too, gone. She won't pick my calls." She sobbed harder. "I know something happened that day at the house. Did I use her phone? I don't know what was said. I wasn't there, but something shifted. Something broke." She pressed her hand to her chest. "Please, if they betrayed me, take this pain away. If I'm wrong, show me. But whatever it is, heal me." And in that moment, the room was quiet, but heaven was listening. It was an ordinary evening. Felicia sat on her bed, scrolling through Instagram mindlessly. She wasn't looking for anything, just trying to quiet her thoughts. Then she paused. A photo caught her eye. A girl in a winter coat, standing by a snowy street, smiling like life had bloomed. She tapped. The name wasn't familiar. Not Linda's usual handle, but the face, it was her. Linda, the same Linda who had once said months ago, "Felicia, I don't even have money for my rent." Now she was abroad, glowing, dressed warm, living soft. Felicia's heart dropped. Memories rushed back. The house, the painters, her dead phone, Linda's borrowed call. Her hands began to tremble. Maybe that day changed everything. Maybe they had started talking behind her back. Maybe Linda said something. Maybe John listened. Maybe they are even together now. She didn't know for sure, but what she did know was that silence had a name. Noun. This story is not just Felicia's pain, it's a warning. When a good man begins to show interest in you, be wise with who you involve. Not everyone who smiles with you is smiling for you. Some come close just to sit in your blessing. And as for John, any man who can walk away without a word after calling you his future was never your destiny. Silence was his answer. Felicia didn't lose. She was spared. And so Felicia danced in the presence of her God, not because everything had gone perfectly, but because she had found peace in the storm. Her heart had been broken, yes. Her trust had been shaken, but her spirit was not crushed. She no longer cried over unanswered calls or wondered why Linda disappeared. She had surrendered it all at the altar, and now she danced, beautifully dressed, her wavy hair flowing like grace, glowing in joy, strength and healing.
Felicia is just happily blooming through life, waiting patiently for the day God will send his rightful son. Because one thing is certain, he will.